You've probably heard a lot of advice about how to succeed in life, but what if I told you that everything you've been told is wrong? No, I'm not kidding. There's a reason why most people fail, and it's not what you think. Stick around because I'm about to reveal the unexpected truth behind success. And trust me, it's going to make you rethink everything. Don't blink, because what happens next could change the way you look at life forever. Welcome back to the channel, Clary Tale. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to have it all together while others keep struggling, you're in the right place. Today, we're talking about how to actually succeed in life. And no, it's not about working harder or following the same advice everyone else gives. There are 3 key areas that separate those who thrive from those who barely make it. We're going to talk about why chasing perfection is actually holding you back, how to fail in a way that brings you closer to success, and why the real work happens when no one's watching. Stick with me until the end, because I promise you, this new perspective will change the way you think about success forever. Let's get started. We've got a lot to cover, so buckle up and let's dive right into the first point. Key point 1. Stop chasing perfection. Let's talk about perfection. We all have that voice in our head telling us that everything needs to be flawless, right? Whether it's launching a business, making a decision, or even just preparing for an event, that perfectionist side of us screams, "No, it's not good enough. Do it again." But here's the kicker. Perfection is a trap. The destructive pursuit of perfection. You might think perfection will bring success, but it's actually one of the biggest hurdles standing in the way of progress. Think about this. How many times have you delayed a project, held off on making a big decision, or spent weeks perfecting something, only to find out it didn't make any real difference? You probably spent more time worrying about tiny details than actually making an impact. Sarah's story is a great example of how perfectionism can hold you back. Sarah had a dream of starting her own online store. She spent years reading about business strategies, hiring experts, and even creating her website. But every time she got close to launching, something held her back. She was terrified that her website design wasn't quite right, or that her product images weren't professional enough. Instead of focusing on building her business, she kept tweaking things, hoping they'd be perfect. But after several years, Sarah never launched. She had been so focused on the idea of perfection that she never made real progress. The power of progress over perfection. Now, let's flip this around. What if instead of obsessing over being perfect, we focused on progress? That's where true success lies. You don't need to have everything figured out before you begin. The best entrepreneurs, creators, and innovators didn't start with perfect plans. They just started. They made mistakes. They failed. But with each failure, they learned. With each lesson, they got better. For example, let's take a look at someone like Steve Jobs. Sure, Apple's products are polished now, but they weren't always this way. Jobs himself once said, "The journey is the reward." What does that mean? It means that success isn't about perfection. It's about growth. It's about making progress each day, even if that means things aren't perfect yet. How to shift your mindset from perfection to progress. Here's the trick. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, focus on the next step. Don't worry about the finish line. Just take one step forward. Build a habit of doing something, anything, that moves you closer to your goal. Success is built on a series of actions, and those actions don't need to be flawless. The more you get done, even if it's imperfect, the more momentum you create. Start with something small. If you're starting a business, for instance, launch a basic website. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just get it live and get feedback. From there, improve gradually. Focus on learning and growing, not on achieving perfection. The key to success: progress plus consistency. Once you shift your focus from perfection to progress, you'll begin to notice something interesting happening. Not only will you be more productive, but you'll feel more confident. You'll stop questioning every little move and start making decisions quickly. Over time, this consistency will build momentum, and before you know it, you'll be further ahead than you ever imagined. And if things don't work out perfectly, you'll be able to adjust, learn, and keep moving forward without being paralyzed by fear. Key point 2. Focus on the right failure's failure. That word alone can send a chill down anyone's spine. We've all been conditioned to avoid failure at all costs. But what if I told you that failure, in the right context, could be the best thing that ever happened to you? The real fear of failure. Missing the right lessons. The fear of failure often holds us back from pursuing our dreams. We fear what people will think, or we fear that we're not good enough. But the real fear should be failing to learn from failure. Think about it. If you're not failing at all, you're probably not taking enough risks. And if you're not taking enough risks, you're not growing. Let me introduce you to Mark. Mark had the idea of launching a tech startup. The problem was, he didn't know the industry very well. He had a lot of passion, but very little experience. His first few attempts failed, but Mark didn't give up. Instead of walking away from his failures, he used each one as a lesson. He learned about the tech market, improved his product, and refined his business model. Eventually, Mark went on to create one of the most successful tech companies of the decade. His key to success? He wasn't afraid to fail. He failed smartly, by learning, adapting, and applying those lessons to his next attempt. Fail fast, fail smart. Here's the secret to smart failure. Fail fast. Don't wait for months or years before realizing something isn't working. The sooner you fail, the sooner you learn. But, and this is important, failing smart means you're not repeating the same mistake over and over again. You're analyzing your failure, taking the lessons, and applying them to the next opportunity. A great example of this is Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. Did you know that Edison failed over 1,000 times before creating a working light bulb? But he didn't see each of those failures as a loss. Instead, he saw them as steps toward success. He famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that won't work." Learning to fail the right way. If you're not failing, you're likely playing it too safe. So, how can you make sure you're failing in the right way? Ask yourself these questions. Did I learn from this failure? What can I do differently next time? What's the one thing I can improve on? By analyzing your failure and improving with each setback, you're not just failing, you're growing. And this kind of smart failure is what leads to long-term success. Key point 3. The power of unseen effort. We live in a world where we're constantly bombarded with success stories. On social media, it's all about the overnight success, the person who built an empire from scratch and is now living their best life. But here's the truth. What you're seeing is just the tip of the iceberg. The myth of overnight success. The term overnight success is one of the biggest myths about success. What people fail to realize is that for every overnight success story, there are years of invisible hard work behind it. Think about the last viral sensation you saw online. Their success seemed instant, didn't it? But in reality, it was likely years of effort, struggle, learning, and failing before they became what they are today. Let's take a look at a real-world example. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, was cut from his high school basketball team. Can you imagine that? The guy who would later become a global icon in basketball couldn't even make his high school team. But he didn't quit. Instead, he practiced harder, trained longer, and learned from every rejection. The effort he put in behind the scenes made him the legend we know today. What happens behind the scenes? The grind that happens when no one is watching is where the real magic happens. It's the late nights, the hours of practice, the research, the setbacks, and the consistency. The truth is, most people won't see the work you put in. They'll only see the final result. But that's okay. The key is to focus on the work, not the applause. So, how can you build your own invisible success story? Start by committing to the process. Focus on improving every day, even if it feels like no one is noticing. Whether it's learning a new skill, working on a project, or making small improvements to your routine, every bit of effort adds up over time. Success is a compound effect. One of the best ways to understand success is to think of it as compound interest. Each small effort you make, whether it's reading a chapter, learning a new skill, or just trying something new, compounds over time. The more consistent you are, the more results you'll see. But this doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of consistent behind-the-scenes effort. So, what's the key takeaway from all this? Success isn't about having everything figured out. It's about having the courage to take imperfect action, learning from the right mistakes, and doing the unseen work when no one's paying attention. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The real challenge isn't just knowing these truths, it's applying them. If you're ready to take that next step and actually make a change in your life, drop a comment below about what you're going to start doing differently today. And don't just comment, take action. Because success isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. You've made it this far. Now, the real question is, what's one thing you can do today to get closer to the life you want? Don't overthink it. Make a commitment right now. Whether it's reaching out for that first meeting, taking that class, or simply trying something new, your success begins with the choice you make in this moment. What's it gonna be? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best version of you is just one decision away. Keep building, keep learning, and keep growing. Catch you in the next one.